Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Overtime. My name is Connor Durkin. Today, we're sitting down with Coach Pardun once again to discuss the end of the season and just recap it all. So, thanks again, Coach, for coming on today.
Absolutely. I'm a little sad, actually, that I like doing this. It's fun. So
Yeah, I know.
Sad that it's over, but we'll move on to the next chapter.
Yeah, it was such a fast season, way different than last year, especially. But I wanted to, take it back last week. You guys started off great in the first half against Frem, shutting them out 28-0. And I think the offense looked especially great because I was watching the stream a little bit. And I think they looked the best I've seen them out of the two home games I was at when we were announcing. Clausen got off. He got 3 touchdowns in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. So then what changed for you guys in the second half?
Yeah, good question. It was a tough game, against a good opponent. And I don't know, of course, we're reflecting on it a lot. And it was interesting because I didn't know what we were going to get going into Friday. We had limited practice that week. We've had a lot of distractions, just like every team this year. And, yeah, we came out firing. Everybody felt great. But from experience, you got a 4-quarter game. And they had a drive right before half to make it 28-7. And we were even getting the ball at halftime. So we still felt pretty good. And then it was field position. It was tough. So, I always told the kids from the beginning of this 6-game season, like when it's 4th and 1, we're going to go for it. We were all on the same page. We got stuffed a couple times in that third quarter, but we were going against the wind. Our punt team hasn't been great with not a lot of time to work on it. So they got momentum, and unfortunately, we just couldn't recapture it, So they had a turnover in the second half. Everything that was going right for us in the first half went the other way, and unfortunately, that's sports, right?
Yeah. Obviously, like you said, the outcome wasn't what we wanted. But after a loss like that, what do you talk to your team, or what do you tell them?
Yeah, it was so hard because it's the last game. It's these 6 games. We're playing Fremd. Of course, nobody's playing for a playoff spot, or it's not a playoff game, but at the same time, we just wanted it so bad. But the one thing, I told our kids, and this is truly how I felt, was like I felt like our program got better that night. Going against a good opponent, on the road, and we're so young, and to learn the lessons of how to protect a lead like that, how to finish games. And then the intensity of the fourth quarter was different than we had experienced all year. We haven't been in an environment like that. And so, I am kind of the type to look at it as like a glass half full. And I felt like, our program got better. Like the younger kids, I think, are going to learn from that experience. And hopefully we'll take that forward. And if we learn from it, then it's kind of worth it and not a loss in my mind.
That's so true. I mean, you can look at the NFL even when there's a younger team going into the playoffs. A lot of the guys haven't been there before. They, get out early, but then they come back, and now all these guys have experience, and then they might make it even farther next year. And I think that's exactly what is going to happen to you guys next year, too.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, again, we're still not in our regular routine. Whether it's weight room or what our summer is going to look like or all that stuff. But we're getting closer to it. Credit to our seniors. We had 11 seniors and started, 80% of our team was juniors and a couple sophomores. And so, look, there'll be a lot of challenges still just because you have experience doesn't make you any better necessarily, right? Unless you use it the right way. So, yeah, hopefully we learn from it, and we'll show that next fall.
Yeah, you beat me to the seniors. I wanted to focus on them for a second. Obviously, there weren't a lot on the team this year, but you've got to be proud of them the way that they've handled themselves with this season and all, COVID, putting a stop to it multiple times and everything. I think they've done a great job for sure.
Yeah, it was impressive. I think, even during the last year when I needed a pick-me-up, or I'd have to Zoom with our leaders or our seniors, and the ups and downs of COVID, we're not even seeing each other, and yet we're trying to stay connected. And I would get, just like everybody in the world, right? You get a little sad, and you're missing things and missing people and frustrated. And I would talk to them. Their attitude was always so positive. I always say they never once said, like, this sucks or why us or, it's not fair that we're not playing even in the fall. They just kept okay, coach, like, I'm like, here's the next step of the process. Here's what we're going to do next. And they were awesome with it.
And then with this season being much shorter, being like no other, I wanted to start off by asking your opinion. What do you think the highest point of this season was, and what is the lowest point? What was the lowest point?
Yeah, I think, interesting, great question. One of the high points was a game I'll never forget coming out on that beautiful Saturday afternoon against Meadows. We hadn't played in 500 days. They beat us last year in a tough game, and we came out with such energy and emotion, and with the little prep time and all that. It was our 250th school win for Hersey. I was in tears after the game. I mean, just everything kind of poured out, and so that's one I'll never forget, the rest of my life, which is cool. And unfortunately on the book end of that, a low point was what happened at the end of the year. So, again, your heart for the seniors, you want it for the kids. I've kind of learned at my age, when to move on and learn from what you've done, but you always want more for them, because you kind of, you feel responsible. And so, so it was tough, but like we always say to kids, I say to our players, like, don't get too high, don't get too low. You got to take it in stride. If you get too high, you get arrogant and cocky and think you can't be beat, and you get too low and, you don't work and you feel sorry for yourself. So you got to stay in the middle and keep going.
Yeah. You said for the Meadows, when was that for you guys?
That was Hersey's 250th
250th.
Yeah,
wow, that's great.
It was pretty cool, yeah.
Meadows, yeah.
We lost to Lake Zurich, a year ago, and it was like, that'd be awesome if that would have been our 250th win, and then we had to sit on that for 500 days.
Yeah.
And wait for it and talk about it, and then to come out and do it that day, I thought was really, like I said, special.
Yeah, that's great. That was against Meadows, too. Obviously, they've become more of a rival for us, especially since both of us have gotten so good, I think. I mean, we're usually at the top. It's always between Hersey and Meadows, I think. So I think it's kind of becoming Prospect and Meadows are two big rivals.
Yeah, you can it's fun in the MSL, right? I mean, you can look at the great games we've had against Meadows over the last 10 years. That almost always come down to who's going to take home the championship, and then, Prospect's getting better. And so that's, of course, always a rivalry with the kids. And then you even look at Buffalo Grove. We Coach Vilk over there is a friend of mine, and, that's always something you don't want to give up either. So it's fun that we got these things week to week.
Yeah. I think just this community as a whole, so many people know each other. Like for BG, you mentioned all the Thomas kids that go here.
Sure.
Right? It's Thomas kids go to BG too, so it's like a reunion in a sense for like the players, obviously, and then the fans too that go. When obviously there's fans because there's no COVID, but it's like a reunion. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I went to in the middle of the season. I went to a Cowboys game, an Arlington Heights Cowboys game, to see the young kids play and know some of the coach, and there's Prospect players there, and there's BG players there, and we live in these tight communities where we all feed into each other. It's not like we live in one town that we get all those kids, and so that it makes it cool. Kids know each other, and I think that's part of the fun of it.
Yeah, Cowboys is where they make all those memories, right? They make them for the love of the game. That's especially when you're young playing football. That's where
for sure
the love for the game and the passion comes from.
For sure.
Do you guys have any more meetings or practices to wrap up?
Yeah, actually, taking a little breath after, but we got another meeting next week, and then we don't have much time, obviously. So it's like it's just this one quick cycle. Usually we can kind of breathe for a few weeks, and December, and kind of get back in the weight room, but we got to turn it around real quick. So we got a program meeting next week, and then. We got to get those guys back in the weight room, and we want to make sure everybody's healthy. And it was tough during the season, but let their bodies recover a little bit. But then we got to get going. Yeah,
I mean it's right on to the next sport, I think, for a lot of your guys, right?
Yeah. So we're that's the other thing. I mean, the last 2 weeks we're playing two sports at once. I coach baseball too. Yeah. Kids are going from football to baseball practice, and. We want them to be able to do it, right? We all miss so much, and at the same time, we got to manage it. So, be where your feet are is what I always say, right? So, be where your feet are and take care of that. But, yeah, it's going to be tough. So, but we're getting to a little bit of a groove now. Guys are into their other sports, and we can still get in the weight room, so that'll be good once we do that.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been crazy. I mean, that's not good for they got to focus on school and then play 2 sports on the varsity level potentially. That's got to be hard on the player for sure.
Yeah, I even coaching, it's like you go from football practice, let's say in the morning, and then you got to change your mentality and you go to baseball after school, and we're trying to work on every kid's schedule, right? Like make sure, and that's just baseball. And then we got kids in lacrosse, we got kids in water polo, we got kids, doing everything. And so, we're trying to take care of our team. We're trying to still be competitive and have them prepare the right way. It was definitely a puzzle and a challenge, but same for everybody. So you got to, do it the best you can.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot of because like you said, there's so many players.
Mm-hmm.
So many players.
And, coming off basketball, it was like, having to sit down with Coach Scott every week and almost talk about each kid and what their role is and are they healthy and what can they do. And then doing the same thing with Coach Brownlee and like I said, other coaches, the lacrosse coaches football with us too. And, it was something I've never experienced. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier when I can just focus on football and we have a routine and a practice time. But hey, you know what? We did it. I think the guys were happy and proud of themselves, and that's a win in itself, so we'll take it.
Yeah, I think routine is everything. I mean, when you got a good routine, I think that's one of the keys to being super successful at what you do, is if you just keep doing the same thing every day, you get into a groove.
Yeah, totally, Connor. Like, I was thinking about that today. Like, I can't wait to get back into that. I'm a math teacher and a big routine guy, and you don't want the routine to get stale and boring.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the routine makes you feel comfortable, and the kids know what to expect. And we with so many people trying for the same thing, the routine keeps us together. And so, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting back to that.
And then I know it's early, but what are some things you're planning on for next year, improving-wise, offensively and defensively?
Yeah, we always look to improve. And so, it's offensively, we're lucky. We got a lot of our team back, but at the same time, we weren't great with turnovers in some games, which is always a huge thing for me and a big statistic. And we weren't good in short yardage situations all the time. And so, those two things stand out. We know our passing game is, second to none. I feel like our run game was starting to develop because we had such a young line. So we want to put those things together. And defensively, I'll be honest, I've been coaching, for a long time, obviously, and it's harder to play defense these days. Offenses are smarter. People put more eggs in that basket because they want to score points, and you really got to be on your game. So you just got to keep up with the challenges of the evolving offense and different things that coordinators can do with different. You hear RPOs all the time, and I even hear NFL announcers talk about it, and sometimes I don't think they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
It's different types of reads, and it's true options, and it puts defenses in tricky situations. So you can be a defensive coordinator, a guy, and you have a guy do a specific read or a specific movement, and they'll catch you right away in the middle of a play. So you got to be really fundamentally strong.
Yeah, that's crazy to me how tuned in some coaches are and some players are, where they're able to recognize the play before it even happens. And like you said, with the offense, how it's developing, I think the playbook's just getting bigger and bigger, and that means the defense just keeps having to study more and more than what they had to do in the past. It's
I was listening to a Saban thing the other day, a video, and he's like, he's been known to say, like, defense is it's just a different world right now, so we got to adjust to that. But we're still learning as we go, and not to mention personnel and the personnel you're facing and who you're trying to stop. So it's a game, but that's kind of the fun part of the game too.
Yeah, definitely. It keeps you on your feet. Do you think the team as a whole kept focused on the theme and goals you guys set at the beginning of the year?
I do. I think it was tough when we lost to Prospect. We knew it was going to be a little bit of an uphill climb right? Because you only got the 5 games. We're trying to win the conference was our goal. I mean, that's of course. And, now we got a setback there. So and we didn't really respond and recover the way I was hoping, for the next week against Buffalo Grove. I think we had a little bit of a hangover going into Buffalo Grove that we didn't quite snap out of. But that's football. If we had played our first 4 or 5 games of the season, things change, and then you got the next 4 or 5 games to really adjust and grow and learn who goes where. And but you know what? They definitely stuck with it. I mean, obviously you saw us.
Yeah.
Week 9, week 6, and I was happy with where we were. Things didn't go our way in the second half, and I'm sure we all wanted to do some things over. But just in terms of our level of play and the way we were dialed in and the energy we were playing with, and there was definite growth there. So that was good to see.
Yeah, there's usually a midpoint in the season where you're able to tone it down. And do you guys usually have a bye week for a high school level or no?
No,
I didn't
no
think
bye week. So
yeah.
you just you go straight through 9 and you kind of learn how to take each week or just gauge it. I mean, how are we doing? How are we feeling? What's the attitude like? What's the temperature of the team? What do we need? Do we need to be physical this week? Do we need to lay off and just be more mental this week? And so that's kind of the fun part of coaching too.
Yeah. Because, the midpoint was so early, week, 6 games, so week 3, I'm like, okay, guys, this is the midpoint. That's crazy. We've only played 3 games.
Yeah.
So it was probably weird for the players, too.
It was. And then, we lost week 3 to a good prospect team, which we know would be good, Again, we figured some things out from that loss, but you don't have time to, recover. I mean, in football, we've had some good teams here the last few years, right? And even beyond that when I was coaching, different levels and different positions. But to go 9-0 is rare and hard. And we've been close to that a few times. And yet it's such a difficult challenge. I mean, it's just football, right? There's only a handful of teams that go 9-0 in the whole state. So it's always the goal, but it's not an easy one. So you got to look for growth. You got to be able to handle the losses.
Yeah. And I know we mentioned this, a lot of the players have other sports right now, but then, they're probably going to focus on that right now. But then for the summertime, what's your plan? Has anything been announced yet?
Well, we have our summer calendar set. We're working with basketball and baseball, and we try to take care of our kids. We're doing it a little different than normal, so we don't start until a little bit later in June, and we're probably not going to put the pads on until July. But in a way, I like it. I think we learned a lot last summer from how we had to do things. That kind of opened our eyes to things that we can do better. So it'll look a little different. I think once we get to July, it'll feel more like the same. But, you got spring sports going all the way till June 20th. And so that's going to change things a little bit. And then we're going to do kind of mini camps at the end of June to kind of get ready. But the biggest thing is we got to get them in the weight room and get that taken care of.
Yeah. Hopefully by summer, though, the COVID rates, I think they're going. It's weird. I don't know much about it. I don't. Unlike you, I'm not a numbers guy, but I think hopefully by summer they'll be going down where things will get a little more laxed and you guys will get to practice a little more.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm encouraged by the numbers. We've all been through this thing together, and everybody's trying in different ways, and I hope so. I was talking to my 8-year-old last night, and she always asks me, when's it going to be over? In her 8-year-old mind. And I said, we're close. Hopefully this summer we can start doing things a little more normal, right? Pools and activities and sports and hopefully maybe without masks where kids can feel like they can, get out there a little bit more and not have to worry as much. And coaches too, right? Not have to worry about that, which was tough. And I'm hoping in the fall, we're back to school and without masks and we can, start moving forward. But, we'll see. So I hope so.
And then what would a typical summer camp day look like for you guys? Or what's the schedule? You start off in the morning and then how does it go from there?
Yeah. So typically we in a normal summer, we go 7 to 9 on the turf. usually come in and get a lift in right away. And then any meetings we have to have, so any coaches that want to grab their position group, or if a coordinator wants to watch film, or we do it, and we just keep learning. And, we try and be smart with their bodies. I don't want to, and I think our program has evolved over where we were and what we need to do and get accomplished in the summer, because guys are playing other sports, and that's what we want. So we want them healthy and happy, and it's busy time sometimes for kids. But yeah, typically that's it. And we try to keep it Monday through Thursday so kids can have their weekends. They can go play in other things, whatever, Sometimes we'll have 7-on-7s, but really we do our best when we keep it to 4 days a week in the morning, and we kind of go from there.
Do you guys ever do scrimmages with other teams, or not really?
We can practice with other teams. Now, obviously, last summer you couldn't do anything. So we might, a lot of times we'll call a friend and say, you want to come over here one morning and practice together. And then there's limits to what you can do in practice, but you can do lineman drills. You can play 7-on-7. You can't do a scrimmage, but you can get drills against other guys and get better that way. So we try and do a few of those this summer. Again, we're still playing the summer by ear, so we'll see how that works.
Do you guys do anything differently than any other schools in our area, or is it all basically the same?
I to be honest, I don't know exactly what other schools do. I don't think, I think most people kind of use their contact days, and some schools will go at night in the summer. Some schools will go in the morning, depending on their staff. Some will play more 7-on-7, some less, but we've had a routine that I think works pretty well, and we're still working on it for this summer. So
7-on-7, would you say that's everybody's favorite drill? I feel like I always hear on TV, everyone's always talking about how they want to play 7-on-7 in practice and everything. I'm just curious, is that a favorite of the team at least?
Yeah, it's in a way I think coaches get frustrated. It's not real football, right? Because you're not in pads, and the quarterback doesn't have to worry about a rush. And I think what it's good for is it's good for your competitiveness and learning who can, be ballers, quote unquote, or make plays on the ball, or spacing. Obviously it's all passing games, so it takes out such a big part of football, but there's a lot to learn. It's almost like third down football all the time. That's the way I see it. So there's some things where it doesn't translate over to the game per se, but with an offense like ours, I think it's important because we're so good at spacing and concepts and route running but at the same time you don't want to forget about your run game, and so you gotta take it with a grain of salt, I guess I would say.
I think it's good too, because I think it could probably build some chemistry between the quarterback and the receivers too.
For sure, timing things, definitely.
Yeah. Finally, what are you looking forward most for next year?
I'm looking forward to getting back into a routine, right?
Yeah.
Into hopefully a normal football season. Getting our young team back. We're excited that we got so many kids with experience, although it was only 6 games, but compared to other people, right? And I think they're a motivated group. I think they're a group that is starting to get it. We saw this season, I don't think they got it. When I say it, really what it takes. Again, we were in week 3, week 4, and even into week 5, and I was, still on them. You guys don't get it. You don't get what it takes to prepare. You don't know how tough it is to win on a Friday night. It's a challenge every Friday. I don't care who you're playing. And so they're starting to understand that. So I'm excited to see where we can go with them.
And then you mentioned you're also a baseball coach. How's the baseball team looking this year?
I coach JV, and the funny thing about baseball is that I never get to see the varsity guys, and we got a ton of football, baseball guys. So I work with some of them on the JV, but hey, we're 2-0 in conference. They beat BG last night again after they had did you see the...
I haven't seen it yet, no.
So they played, Monday night was our opening conference night. They played BG. It was, I want to say it was 14-14.
Oh, really?
And they had to suspend the game. So 14-14. They go into the 8th inning. They picked it up on Tuesday. What's today? Thursday. So they pick it up on Tuesday. Then they win in the 9th inning. They win 16-15, I think it was. and then had to go back to BG yesterday, and they got another win. So 2-0 in conference, so that's exciting. I'm happy for those guys for sure.
It's great. They ended and then played it like 3 days later.
Yeah, well, they ended on Monday when it tied. They had to come back
come
and
back
play
the next day.
The extra innings the next day.
Oh.
Wrap that up in 30 minutes. Go back to BG the next day, yesterday. Get another win, so they won last night. So that's cool, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, Coach, thanks for coming on today. It was great talking to you again.
As always.
To our viewers, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.